Hi everyone, and welcome to today's webinar, Business Recovery Planning. Thank you for making the time to spend with us. My name's Julie and I'm the owner of Spatz Accounting, and I'll be your moderator today. Rebecca is your presenter and she owns Spencer Lawrence Accounting. As you'll see, we're using Zoom today. Your controls are along the bottom. You'll see a chat box there. Just if you want to say anything, you can put it in there. Any questions, if you could put those in the Q&A and they'll be answered at the end. Also, you've got the leave meeting button if you need to leave for any reason. I'll just let you know that we have muted everybody just to make sure that Rebecca can be heard. So Rebecca, I'll hand over to you.
Thank you, Julie, and thank you for everybody who's attending today. On the slides at the moment, you'll see our agenda, and those are all the things that we're going to cover off in today's session. So before I get started, I just want to share some thoughts about how we can stay better connected at this time. I'm not talking about how we can be better connected with technology with things like these webinars and our online meetings, even though those are very important. I'm coming from the perspective of how we can work together more effectively now and in the future, where your expertise can be combined with ours to create outcomes that wouldn't be possible by working alone. In our view, it has never been more important to create and connect with a team of people who can help you at this time. People like your banker, your legal and HR advisors, your accountants, all of those people, if we work together, we can come up with a far better plan than if you work on your own. For Julie and I, one of our core purposes is to educate our clients, hence why we're running this webinar. This should be just the beginning of how we can work even better together. So take lots of notes and don't be shy about asking questions, and let's get into it. During times of adversity, we are often forced to think outside the square, to reinvent the way we work or the way we behave. We see there's four main opportunities for you to reinvent your business. The first opportunity is to innovate. The Oxford Dictionary defines innovation as the introduction of new things, ideas, or ways of doing something. A great example we've seen during the COVID-19 pandemic is a company that changed from selling travel pillows to hair clippers. In this sense, innovation is doing something completely different. The second way to reinvent is to re-engineer. The Cambridge Dictionary defines re-engineer as to change and improve the design of a product or system. In other words, use what you've already got to produce something completely different. One example of re-engineering is the New Zealand beer companies looking at what their plant can make and moving from producing beer to creating your own hand sanitizer. Another example of re-engineering is the 7 Formula One teams who took up the NHS challenge in the UK to make ventilators. The third way to reinvent your business is to adapt or change the way you deliver products or services. Remember the biological definition of adaptation, which is the process by which a species becomes fitted to its environment. In other words, if we take the new normal or a new environment that we find ourselves in, how can we change to suit that environment better? A great example is the local beauty therapy business that emailed their client base offering a free online skin consultation if they buy a product, as well as new bundles of product, including full-size products and multiple samples. These were marketed as a home facial. That business was unable to offer beauty therapy in the traditional way during lockdown, so needed to adapt to an online solution. So we know we can reinvent in 4 ways: innovation, re-engineering, adapting, and now number 4, to widen your lane. What we mean by widening your lane is to broaden your product or service offering. For example, the cafe who broadens their offering from purely cabinet food and coffee to include new ready-made meals, boxed sweet treats, to selling wholesale ingredients and even in ingredient bundles with recipes for making their signature treats. So with these 4 ideas in mind, innovation, re-engineering, adapting, and broadening your offering, what can you do in your business? This is what business recovery planning is all about. There's a natural order in which to reinvent your business. With all business planning, we ask you to put your oxygen mask on yourself first. And business recovery planning is no different. Remember that the business is there to serve you, not the other way around. And you should not be a slave to your business. So step number 1 is to put your shareholder or your owner hat on and define what you need to get from your business. Can you make savings in your personal spending to reduce the cash flow strain on the business? No doubt you've made savings during lockdown, so can these savings be continued? Updating your personal budget is best done using a template so that you don't miss any expenses. An easy way to do this is simply look at your bank statements online to see what you typically spend in a month. Of course, you do need to be realistic, as during lockdown, your spending opportunities were limited, and so you ideally should go back 3 or 4 months to review your expenses. Once you've done your personal budget, you can build up your revised business budget. Many of you may have already done a business budget for the year, but this is likely to have to be changed now. So we recommend what we call a bottom-up process, where you start with the increase in cash you want to achieve for the year. It's important to start here, as many businesses have found that they didn't have sufficient war chest of cash during the lockdown. And this process isn't designed to be too technical, but if you do get stuck, that's what Julie and I are here to do, to help you with it. But some of the key things that you need to look at if you want to increase your cash is you need to look at your debtors and see if you can reduce the number of debtors that you have and what your debtor days look like. You need to look at your stock and your work in progress levels. And you need to start looking at negotiating better terms with your suppliers. You need to start looking at your loans and the principal repayments on your existing loans. See if there's any ways to reduce them. If you're thinking about doing any new finance, is that really something that you should be looking at now? You need to review all your assets. Do you have some assets which are obsolete and should you sell them? Or were you thinking of purchasing some new assets? You need to also look at your drawings, and you need to look at that compared to your personal budget and see if they match, and make sure you're taking out enough drawings to cover that personal budget. All the other items above your drawings are things that Julie and we can help you with. Ways to increase your gross revenue, what your overheads are, what your tax is likely to be. Those are the sorts of things that Julie and we can help you with. This is when we really need to have real-time and digital reports on your business to see where you're tracking. Julie and we both use Xero, and Xero provides you with the ability to measure many different aspects of your business. For example, if you identified your sales total for the year needed to be increased to, let's say, $500,000, that equates to $10,500 per week if your business is open 48 weeks per year. So you want to have a system for recording how you're going against that target. Likewise, if you have debtor terms of 7 days and your debtors are currently taking 41 days to pay you on average, you'll want to measure that number as improving. We strongly recommend you measure no more than 5 of your most important numbers. We call these key performance indicators, or KPIs. Some examples are daily or weekly sales, gross profit by product or service, debtor days, or increase or decrease in cash for the month. Once you have your KPIs and the budget, it's important to have these numbers loaded into your monthly reporting system so you can track your actual results to your budget. Once you know at a high level what your budget is, it's time to look at the opportunities that exist to achieve that budget. Again, we recommend focusing on no more than 5 key opportunities. Think of the ideas we talked about earlier to reinvent your business. Opportunities could also be things like working in more of an online way with your team or your customers. You may no longer need the same premises, or you may need to redefine the roles in your business. There may be new lines of revenue to pursue or other businesses to acquire. Other opportunities might be around the adoption of technology or systems to improve your efficiency or online communication. Taking the time to brainstorm all opportunities to improve your business is a very valuable and empowering exercise. You need to make sure that you leave no stone unturned. Of course, the flip side of opportunity is your vulnerabilities. What are the 5 biggest vulnerabilities in your business right now? They could be things like poor cash flow, a sustained downturn in demand for current products or services, poor debtor management, or you might find that you're not meeting the banking requirements that have been set out on your loans. Naming the vulnerabilities enables you to make a plan to overcome them. Name so you can tame is a great mindset to have. You do need to be brutally honest in your assessment of the vulnerabilities. A rosy plan for your bank is not going to pass muster in these difficult times. Once you have identified your 5 biggest opportunities and 5 vulnerabilities, you need to identify your 2 or 3 most critical challenges. These might be things like deciding whether or not to sell or liquidate part of your business, or establishing an online sales platform, or securing sufficient finance to trade through the next 3 months. Julie and we strongly recommend that you do a careful analysis of all the risks in your business. The best way to complete a risk register, the best way to do this is to complete a risk register, which assesses the likelihood of each risk and then the consequences of your business if those risks are not mitigated. So risks do fall within 10 categories. Governance. These are the risks around poor planning, lack of up-to-date policy, poor discipline around working on the business. Leadership. Risks around communication and reporting and team morale. Products and services. Risks around the lack of adopting or innovation or adapting. Operational. This is risks around your suppliers and your supply chain, your contracts and your key customers. Marketing. This is risks including poor return on investment or overspending, or potentially the lack of a digital presence. Sales. The need to adapt to e-commerce or online selling. Risk around poor training or overselling in these difficult times. Under finance, you have things like lack of sufficient cash flow, poor financing structures, and poor credit control, data management, and poor reporting, or even the lack of forecasting. With HR, it comes down to the overspending or poorly managed restructuring, and you might find if you don't structure correctly, you might get personal grievances filed against you. Admin. Lack of automation and technology. This is where all your software and all your apps come into play. So when you do your risk register, you'll create a risk register that looks like this, where you've numbered all your risks, what categories they fall into, what your key risk description is, and you've put a figure on that as to the assessment. You also have a plan on how you're going to mitigate that risk, and also who within your team is responsible for that risk. Once you have identified the risks, you need to pull everything together into a cohesive plan with goals, actions, and responsibilities. Your business recovery plan is much more detailed than a business plan, and that you get right down into the detail of each department of the business. The goals need to be SMART, and all actions need to be assigned to someone who is going to be responsible for them. These goals and actions should be updated regularly through some form of regular review and process. At this time, we recommend a monthly review for at least the next 6 months, and then we can change to quarterly thereafter. So let's take a closer look at how to pull all of this together now as a complete package. Depending on your circumstances, your package should include your personal budget, a risk register, a business recovery plan, a business forecast, and an updated organisation chart. And that really applies if you have a team of people around you, and also a finance application. You may not need all of this work at the same time, and you may not need a sufficient cash flow report until you apply for finance, but this gives you a general idea of what you need to complete overall. So let's have a look at the plan. The plan includes an executive summary, and that covers generally what your business looks like and what issues you may be suffering because of COVID-19 or in the next 12 months. We include what your personal spending looks like, as well as what your annual spending looks like. And we extend that out over to a 3-year period of time. We then do the business budget, How much revenue do you need to achieve this year? And then every quarter we review that to see if you're on target to meet your annual budget. We include in here your critical KPIs that you want to achieve, the opportunities that you've identified, including all your vulnerabilities that you've identified, and your critical challenges. And then we look at each department to review your risks and how you're going to mitigate those risks, what your annual goals are, what your 90-day goals are, the 90-day actions, who's responsible for them, and when do they need to be completed by. So what are your next steps? Doing nothing is not an option. We're entering into a period of business as not normal. Doing what you've always done is unlikely to give you the same results as you've had in the past. Remember to put your oxygen mask on yourself first. The more sustainable you can make your business right now, the better for everyone. Make a plan to get through these challenging times. Focus on what you can do as opposed to worrying about what might happen in the future. And remember that Julie and I are here to help you. So if you haven't already done your business recovery plan, now's the time to do this, as it will form a great foundation from which to build your cash flow improvement strategy. It will also help you with the loan applications. So there's quite a few options that we can offer to help you complete the plan. The first option is to meet with us online or face-to-face if we can. So we can do this together. We can create your business recovery plan together. We'd either do this over one session of up to 4 hours, or we could do it over 2 2-hour sessions. And we'd send you an in-depth pre-work to complete so you have time to consider the impact that COVID-19 has had on each department of your business. We'll use that completed pre-work to guide us through the plan and set your goals for each department. This ensures you have a detailed and well thought out plan to give your business the best chance of recovery. A second option is to meet with us to complete that session, and then we'll work with you to prepare an updated cash flow forecast and finance application if required. The third option is to complete a complimentary business recovery review. So we'll send you out the business recovery action list to complete, which is a condensed version of the plan. And this option suits those of you who may have a small business that doesn't require a comprehensive business recovery plan. And once you've completed the action plan, we'll schedule a 15-minute call to review your plan and the next steps. The risk with this approach is that with everything else going on right now, you may not get around to doing this work. And the fourth option is if you're unsure on the best way forward, or you want to talk to us about how we can work together, we recommend a complimentary meeting to discuss your goals, your current problems and challenges, and we can then agree the best way we can support you. If you're going to need to obtain business funding, we believe it's vital that you prepare a cash flow forecast. The loan needs to be repaid, so your business needs to be able to generate enough profit to then convert it into cash to make the repayments. We know it might be difficult to commit to spending money right now, and we have different payment options available, so please don't let the cost of completing a session be a barrier. Get in touch and we can work together to come to an arrangement that we can all manage. We know that the benefits you will get from these services will be far greater than any fee that we might charge. Most importantly, it's about helping you as quickly as possible to ensure we are working with you to build a stronger, more resilient business. So I'm going to pass it back to Julie and to see if you have any questions.
Thanks, Rebecca. If you do have any questions regarding this webinar, please can you contact either Rebecca or myself, and we'll be really happy to also send out the complimentary copy of the Business Action Recovery List as Rebecca discussed. Again, thanks for joining us on this webinar. Rebecca?
Thank you, Julie. So I'm going to leave you with one final thought for the day. A good plan today is better than a perfect plan tomorrow. Make a simple plan today. Commit to at least 3 actions you will take as a result of being here today. Write them down. Give each of them an owner and a completion date. This is a worrying time for many businesses, but you don't need to worry alone. There's a ton of support out there and there's more to come. And Julie and I, we are here to support you. So please take care and we'll talk to you all again soon. Thank you.